Greetings. Well, I wanted to give a word of helpful knowledge about prayer and talking to God, talking to the Spirit, communing in the Spirit. I have prayed in very many different ways, and I think a lot of us experience prayer. Sorry, I'm experiencing ringing in my left ear. It's actually really, this is the whole reason I'm bringing it up too, because, it's something that I've seen a lot in comments on other people's videos of like, I've been experiencing tinnitus or lots of ringing in my ears and da-da-da-da-da, and I kind of always thought it was hoopla, but a few minutes ago I experienced a ringing in my left ear right when I had said something that basically I was sitting on the couch in a sort of meditation, I guess, and I began to sing to open my heart, and it was a sort of song that already exists, and then I started kind of riffing off on top of it, and one of the lines that came to me that I sang was about my voice reaching to heaven and the angels singing with me. And when I sang that, my left ear started ringing, and I thought that was so, I just giggled, because what an obvious moment for that to happen, Anyways, that was just happening. I've prayed to God in many different ways in my life. That relationship has looked very different as I've become more willing or more comfortable or less comfortable and less willing or whatever. The back and forth process of what reaching myself out to the Spirit has looked like over many years. And something that I think is worth mentioning is that song is prayer. Song is prayer. Poetry is prayer. Dance is prayer. Anything really, For myself, I find that when I sit and I want to speak to God, speak to the Spirit, there's something I want to say. And I begin to speak it, like just talking, I kind of feel myself taking a posture of smallness and meekness and undeservedness and thinking, thought process. And I feel myself saying things that I feel like are maybe the wrong choice of words, and then I try to, it's like I just feel the ridiculousness of the moment of here I am talking to God who lives within me. And I am second guessing, and I don't know quite what to say. And there have been times before where I've prayed and I knew exactly what I needed to say. And now I find myself in a place where there's nothing really to say anymore. I feel actually that I shouldn't be saying anything, that I should just be listening. If it's really that I want to sit and I want to commune with God, that there isn't, the prayer is coming from this place of, this is what I want to commune with God, and then I feel the need to say it, to speak it aloud and start talking to God, but that's not what's needed. I can feel it in myself. It's not what's needed. I just want to be in the presence of God. I just want to be in stillness with God. I just want to be seen by God, be known by God. And to remember myself in eternity. That's what the desire is. And so if that's what the desire is, then there's really no need to begin speaking upon it, talking about it, or asking for it, because then the moment is there. And it's like in the very prayer of asking for it is the assumption that it's not already there. So, and that's been a process for me. There's not to discount the asking for it, because the asking for it kind of, in some other stages, helps to break down barriers within oneself that seem to hinder you from just being. I find that when I want to express to God, it's like I want to pray, I start talking, I get wrapped up in all this stuff. And then I sit in the stillness, and then I feel I still want to express. So then I just start singing. And when I start singing, the real truth of what wants to be expressed to God is expressed. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say, or what needs to be said, or I'm just expressing in total simplicity. And in that moment, then I feel totally inspired, and I feel very moved. And I, quote unquote, for lack of a better way of saying it, I get what I want. Because in that singing to God, I get to enjoy it. And what's felt inside myself is the enjoyment of God. It's no longer talking to God and reasoning and requesting and saying what I want and saying what I don't want. It's expressing love and desire and longing for the one who inspires the song, for the one who's meant to listen. and it's all felt within myself, and that's what kind of opens my heart up to receive the touch of God and the presence of God and the sight of God in that moment. Is the openness of my own heart in that song, because it's so innocent and true. So I wanted to share that, because I really am such an advocate for prayer, but prayer has always looked really I don't know, it's not been very structured for me in my life. I've seemed to have a weird relationship to it. And I think especially because when I start talking, that's when I kind of, I mean, just like with anybody, you start talking, that's when things get a little heady, you know. And if I'm talking to God, what I really want is, I just am reaching out my hand and I'm wanting for my hand to be grabbed and taken to the other side. And so long as I'm talking, that's not really happening, because I'm just talking and occupying my own awareness. My thoughts are occupying my own awareness. My desire for God is occupying my awareness instead of allowing for that presence of God within myself to blossom open and to rest in it. So just pray however you want, you know? The beautiful thing about God and the beautiful thing about eternity is that you don't ever have to be like, there's no formality, and you don't have to. I mean, I know you see it in movies a lot of someone introducing themselves. Dear God, it's me, Allie. Obviously, you don't have to do that, but there's this beautiful flow that exists of having a constant conversation with God, a constant communication with God, where eternity is always now and it's always existing and it just always is. And even if you had a certain expression expressed to God alone in your bedroom on Friday night, Tuesday morning, it's the same difference. You don't have to catch God up to anything. You don't have to readdress what you last spoke about, recall it in your mind. You don't have to do any of that. It's just a continuous now. It might as well be that when you had your prayer on Friday, it might as well have just been just now on Tuesday morning. Do you get what I'm saying? You can just pick up immediately where you left off, and you don't have to worry about logic, and you don't have to worry about talking in a way that makes sense. That's something that's really vital. You don't have to worry about making sense. You don't have to worry about completing thoughts, completing sentences. The communication that exists with God is so spontaneous and so fluid. And if you're really, really quite receptive, you might find there are instances where you're talking to God and you just are stopped mid-sentence, and you're just, maybe you're walking around, you're on a hike or something, or you're cleaning or whatever. And now you're just existing in that silence, doing whatever you're doing in silence and just listening or being with that awareness. I think that's something that has existed in me as a sort of conflict, which is feeling the need to make sense to God. I would find myself saying something and being like, well, but this and this and this. And it was just me talking to the ego, to the identified ego that requires reason and requires sense to be made and requires understanding in that way, you know? So it would be my attempt to talk to God, and it's like simultaneously there's this soul part of me wanting to speak to God, and then the ego is listening, and the ego is saying, I don't really understand what you're trying to convey. Please re-examine it. Please restructure it, reframe it. And so then I become busy in that instant. I become busy trying to restructure what it is that I'm saying. And in those moments of being so identified with ego in that way, I don't realize that that's what's happening. I assume it's like it's like I assumed it was just my rational mind, but that rational mind is ego, you know? It just is. And so what I really want to push here is that the most delectable thing about communication with that divine presence is feeling. You know that it's occurring because you feel the trepidation. You feel not that you feel the smallness and the meekness, but you feel the grandness of it, and the kind of speechlessness of it. Nothing is needed of you. I think that's been something for a long time that I've seemed to translate as a sort of smallness or meekness in myself, is that in these instances where I've been moved by the knowing of the presence of the divine right there within me, there's this need that tells me that, or there's this understanding that nothing is really needed from me in that moment. And then I feel small and I feel troubled because I want to express what it is I want to express, and before I even get there, it's already known. I really don't have to say anything at all. I'm able to just be in silence, because the moment of actually accepting that there really is nothing needed of you, you are known. It's already known. Whatever it is that you want to say to God, whatever it is you want to pray about, is already known. And to identify with the ego in some different ways, it can feel like you're unable to express what you need to express, and you can feel a sort of smallness and a sort of judgment towards yourself, and you can even fight against the fact that there's nothing needed of you. You can fight against it, and then begin to rationalize the prayer and talk to God as if you're talking to someone that you're trying to convey understanding to, but you don't have to convey understanding to God, because God already is, and God already knows. You don't, you know? So I don't really know what this video all is. I hope that there's something here for you that that is helpful. I felt quite compelled to sit down and share this and make this video. So there's that. And maybe while I'm here, I'll share with you. I've been quite sick the last week, and I wrote a little song while I've been sick, and maybe I'll share it with you. And just so you know, my breath is a little bit weak, so but this is a tiny, tiny song that I wrote in God-like inspiration, God-loving inspiration, and I hope you like it. Cause you peace.